and co-host of the podcast. This is the podcast where we look to offer in some insights into the people and what is happening at HeavenEarth Church in Whiteland, Indiana. And the thing that we love to do is get to know the people who are a part of the church. And so we have a great guest with us today, JoAnna Burnett. Welcome to our conversation here this afternoon.
I'm glad to be here, Brad. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, JoAnna, one of the things that we like to do is just to get to know the folks who are part of what we are about here at HeavenEarth Church. Just tell us a little bit about you in terms of, like, what's hometown for you? Where are you from?
Fairland, Indiana, in a cornfield.
In a cornfield.
Well, most of us in Indiana, really. But
tell me a little bit about growing up in Fairland, Indiana. What were some of the things you were involved with? A little bit about home life for you there.
Yeah. So, goodness. Okay. So, grew up with my older sister, Stacy, who's 10 years older than me, and my little brother at that time, my only younger brother, Ross, and my dad. My father raised us out there in Fairland. And we just, sporting events, church every Sunday, and whether we wanted to or not. And just, I don't know, a lot of love out there in the Stackhouse home, but which is my maiden name, by the way.
Yeah, very good, very good. Well, so tell me one thing about growing up there that was just a warm experience. Maybe a place in your home that was kind of cool, or a place that you went that was kind of something that made you feel good.
That's a loaded question because there was so much warmth and love in my home. My father was amazing. He wasn't perfect, but he was amazing. Love was never an issue for us. So everything we did, it seemed like there was always, not to sound corny, but there was always a little bit of love in everything we did. I feel like we were just kind of we were a joyful bunch. I feel like, my dad was always kind of a half glass full kind of type, but I thought of a memory, and it's funny you should ask this question, which I didn't know you were going to ask, but I thought of a memory the other day because I took my two nieces and my nephew to fly a kite. Was it yesterday? Friday night. It was Friday night. And I remember my dad would take us to the cornfield down the street, and we would fly kites in the cornfield. So that's a good memory of, like, just my brother Ross and my dad and I. And my sister was 10 years older, so it was just Ross and I most of the time. And like a place, I guess I can't really name a place. We spent a lot of time at the school. We were always in activities. So Triton Central and Triton Middle School and Elementary, shout out to you. It was a great school. We just spent a lot of time there. Maybe, with my aunt and uncle, or at my grandmother's.
A lot of school activities, this type of thing.
Yeah. Just brownies and Girl Scouts and sporting events and show choir and all the things. So Ross and I were pretty active. So it's hard to really pick like a place in the area that we would per se go. And my dad being
a really good childhood. Kites in the cornfield. I love that imagery. That's really, really cool.
I do too. Yeah.
Tell a little bit about your faith journey, JoAnna. What I mean by that is some sense about your church life growing up, and or some sort of how faith evolved for you.
That's definitely a loaded question, but I'm excited to talk through it. So, grew up at New Life United Methodist Church in Fairland, Indiana, and of course, very traditional Methodist church, and I have so much love for that church. Raised me up in such wonderful ways. There were ladies in that church who sewed us pillows and for the kids, or when I went to college, they'd send cards. And I think those were just really big gifts in that church. I can't say I wanted to go every Sunday, but it was an expectation of my father. So it was just like, if you're alive, I don't care how much you slept last night. I don't care, we're not going to talk through it. We're going to church. And my dad led the example because, he never missed a Sunday of church, and we didn't always want to go, as kids, there's just other things you want to do. But Ross and I would go and sit in the pews and sometimes draw or doodle and all of that. Then just So it's a big story because then, you graduate and high school. I graduated high school and went to college. And in college, I can maybe say I attended church twice in 5 years. I was on the 5-year plan in a summer class to boot. I went to church once and because I was having a bad day, I think is why I went. But and then the other time was just going with a friend. It was like a Catholic meetup. So it was a little different, because I was raised Methodist, but kind of lost sight of that in my collegiate years. And then life happens, after college. In college, we can get deep into the weeds here because I think that people have this idea of church-going folks that everything's figured out and everything's perfect, or they're not people who have troubles or who sin. And in college, that was we'll just jump right into it, I guess. But, that was a big time of partying for me. That was a big time of learning how to drink and hang out with friends and nowhere in sight, really. My faith was always with me in my heart because it was ingrained in me. But I didn't have a full understanding of my faith until some things really changed in my life, which I'm happy to go into.
Well, let's just kind of focus on maybe on one of those pivotal moments, a pivotal moment where faith changed for you.
Okay.
It's like you went through a process where church was kind of part of what you did growing up. College, you went to party and things like that, and that was a part of your lifestyle. But it sounds like there was a pivotal moment where faith came into the picture more. So let's go there for a minute.
Yeah, I think that's a really good segue. So, sometimes it's hard to tell this story because you want people to see the really good things about yourself, and you want people to see the perfect things and to portray this life that's just really good and great, perfect. But for me, it was the partying. I think, my mom, struggled with alcoholism, and she was not always, she wasn't present a lot of time, actually at all. I'm just being kind. She really wasn't present. And I think I had a lot of issues to work out. And I think I had a rebel heart, so to speak.
Okay.
And I was partying like a rock star. I was going to parties and throwing parties. And the pivotal moment, I'm getting to it, is I drove home from a friend's house. And this was about 2008 or 2009. I'm not very good at years or dates, birthdays or anything. So roughly 15 or 16 years ago now. But, and I had to look that up because I'm like, when was that? But this event, I left a friend's house and I had been drinking, and I was driving home to my father's house where I lived at the time. And I was getting ready. I was looking for houses. It was like when the housing thing happened and they were doing this big rebate if you purchased a house. So I was looking for a house for the first time. I was excited about that. I was living with my dad. I had graduated college and I was driving home. Church was the next morning. I got to my father's house and I was well beyond my limit drinking. Okay. And I'm happy to share this because I just really want others. I want to help somebody through my story. And that's always the case. I'm never ashamed to tell it because it made me who I am today. But I then got to my dad's driveway and I thought, I don't have enough gas to get to church in the morning. So I drove to New Palestine, and on the way, I dropped a CD. At the time, it was CDs, Brad, in my floorboard. And I leaned down to pick it up. And next thing I know, I'm crashing my car.
Oh my goodness.
Going 50-something miles per hour into a tree head on. Oh. So this is my testimonial story because I had no seatbelt on and my head hit the windshield. It was into a ravine where there was water. So my car was on, this, what do you call that, an incline or a decline? I don't. Yeah. Anyway.
You were in the water in the ditch, right?
It wasn't quite in the water because the tree had stopped me. The tree had stopped my car. I'd hit it head on. Okay. And I woke up in the right floorboard of my car. on my back like a beetle. And for me, I'm 5'8". I've never been what you call petite. And I just woke up and I knew I was in big trouble. I knew I was in big, deep trouble.
Yeah.
I was well known in my town, but I just thought, what am I going to do?
Were you physically hurt as well?
I was physically hurt.
Yeah.
So gosh, you would think I'd remember this story, but I had, I think, 3 broken ribs and several bruised ribs. And I don't know if you've ever had a bruised rib, but it's extremely painful. I was highly athletic and I've had like 10 broken bones. The ribs were the worst.
Wow.
And I remember laying there, and when you have broken ribs, you can't breathe. And I was trying to pull myself out of the floorboard up by my steering wheel, and I couldn't do it. I mean, I was on this deep, deep incline there, and I just cried out. I just said, Lord, if you can help me through this, if you can get me through this, I'll be different. I'll be forever changed. And I cried out. And I think this is where it kind of takes a turn and people even struggle to believe me. But I felt what felt like 2 hands on my back, lifting me out of the floorboard of my car to the driver's seat. And I got out of the car and I turned around and I looked at my vehicle and I looked around and there was nobody there. And I think people that hear this story think, oh, she was just concussed. She just, she just imagined this. Yeah. She was out of it. She was in shock. But I know in my heart who it was, because if a person was there helping me, they wouldn't have ran away or vanished. They probably would have stayed.
Right.
And when I looked around, there was no one there.
Yeah.
And I just looked at my car and I walked to the first house, which was actually a good friend of my brother's house.
Okay.
And his mother, who to this day in my heart is a complete saint of a woman, an angel. And I'm not going to mention her name just in case, that wouldn't be cool with her. But I was forever changed after that day. My brother and my dad, I had her call my brother and my dad. And always my saving grace, those 2 guys, my 2 best friends. And they came and I looked at my brother and I said, I'm going to go to jail because my brother was, Ross Stackhouse, my heart of hearts, to look my brother in the eye in that situation and had to say, hey, I'm going to go to jail tonight. It turns out I didn't go to jail that night. The police came and somehow, if I remember, I think I passed all my field sobriety checks and I think I just blew a little past the limit because, they do the tests and all that terrible stuff.
This pivotal moment really changed you, not only physically, but this was a moment, your life changed. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. I thought, the whole town is going to know. The whole town is going to know that I'm a wild child and this is what I'm doing in my free time. And not only that, I've broken my father's heart. I've broke my brother's heart. And I'm in extreme pain. But somehow this police officer, and I can't make this up, this police officer knew my brother because my brother, it was either through my brother's basketball games at Triton Central or it was through his band. His band opened up for Matt Mason. So if you're not aware of who Matt Mason is, he is a country artist who's actually done really well on the country scene. And my brother's band opened up for him for this competitive show called Nashville Star. I don't know why I got into that, Brad.
That's all right.
Oh, anyway, this police officer knew him.
Police officer, right.
And he basically, literally gave me a get out of jail free card.
Wow.
He said, I can tell you've learned from this. I can tell you're loved, that kind of thing. And this is not, exact verbiage. Yeah. I went home and I remember crying out in pain all night from my broken ribs. And man, it changed me forever. How can, it just changed me forever.
Yeah. And so that's really part of your spiritual journey is not growing from that point, right? Yeah. On in a way that's been, it sounded like you were kind of on it, basically, for lack of a better term, kind of a destructive path or not a healthy path. Let's put it that way. And now you, a pathway that was productive and greater things were happening for you. And then,
Yeah.
so tell me a little bit about how it came to be out of your faith journey that you eventually got connected up. What led you to Greenwood, Indiana and Whiteland, Indiana, and to eventually get connected to HeavenEarth Church?
Yeah. So from that day on, life wasn't perfect. I wasn't just no longer seeing my friends or going to parties or hanging out, but I had a new spirit. I knew I had these things going on. So there's so many things that I could tell you that have happened miraculously that a lot of people, they just don't believe. But for the sake of time, I'm going to limit this to several things. And I'm always happy to talk through it if anybody has questions. Like, I can share many stories. But, all right. So I carried on and I knew I had to change. I knew I could no longer keep continuing going and throwing all caution to the wind and making these choices, disappointing myself, mostly my family, my friends. And I knew that a real change was going to need to happen to live a life of wellness and joy and healthiness. And I can't say I didn't go to parties again or that I never got drunk after that. I did. Matter of fact, I still have drinks from time to time. I'm never throwing all caution to the wind. It's never something where I'm jumping out and saying, hey, I'd really like to drink to really just get drunk or anything like that. You know, at 41 years old, I've learned that it's just about connecting with somebody and having experience. So I'm able to go to parties and places. Now, a lot of people aren't able to do this, but I'm able to go to many places, never drink and drop, and just really enjoy my time with people. So anyway, I say all that to say I gradually developed change and discipline. And it was hard at first. It was hard to be of this person in the world, but not of the world, and to still love my friends and to still be able to connect and see them in that atmosphere. And so I used to attend concerts for Dave Matthews, and I've probably been to over 17 or 18 shows of Dave Matthews.
I forgot what they call. What do they call the? Like you get the dead heads follow the dead. There's some name for the Dave Matthews fans. What is that?
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, there's symbols, the fire dancer, but I don't know that there's an actual.
You know what I'm saying. You were a Dave Matthews big time fan.
The Tripping Billies? I don't know. I don't. Okay. Anyway, I don't know that I actually know.
I got us off track. I apologize about that.
No, you're fine.
But let's see how your faith journey led you eventually here to Greenwood, Whiteland, and how did you first get somehow connected to HeavenEarth Church? How did that happen?
Yeah, so I think, there's just a lot in the middle. So I have to tell this story because it matters. It gets you to where I am here. But I was going to that concert and I was driving and I thought, how am I going to go to this show? And I'm camping for 2 days at this show. Yeah. My friends are going to be drinking and there's just, just the party's up there a lot. And how am I going to do this? And I was on my way. And this I noticed like a bright light shine in front of me. And I saw this almost like a starburst, like when you stand up and you see stars or you stand up too quickly. And I saw myself like standing up, like elevated and chains breaking off of me. Mm. And my eyes hurt and I didn't know what was happening to me. And I understand, just keep following me. I understand if this is hard for people to receive. I called my brother. I pulled my car over and I called my brother, Ross. And I was like, Ross, something is happening to me. The light is so bright. I'm seeing things so clearly. And I just feel like chains are busting off of my body and I'm just no longer bound. And I think the Lord is telling me something and helping me or something. And so that was one instant. My brother had, big Pastor Ross, with all of his education and knowledge and history, and never had anything like this happen to himself per se. Even though I will say this, another life-changing thing was seeing my brother praying in his bedroom at 16 years old while I was out going to parties. And bye, Ross, I'm leaving. And I would see him on his bed reading his Bible. So, okay, I have to inject that into the story. Fast forward after that, I get married to my husband and we moved to Ohio for his job. And in Ohio, we were working very hard. I left my job at 17 years and we moved out there. I started working for him. And I started looking for churches out there. I started bouncing around to different churches to find my church home. And I ended up landing at the Vineyard Columbus. So I've been to many churches in my life. If we ever went out of town, my dad always took us to church out of town.
Okay.
I ended up bouncing over to the Vineyard Columbus, amazing church, full of culture. There, I was a minority there. There was just so many cultures there. I loved that. It was a big engine. It was huge. So I couldn't really connect, but I was feeling moving. The Spirit was moving inside of me. I was feeling nudged. I was feeling all of these things. I felt like I was just kind of blown wide open and I was ready to just hit the ground running. And then my husband lost his job after a motorcycle accident. And I said, well, let's move back to Indiana. And we moved back to Indiana. And blessedly, he's very happy at a new job and we're very, very happy. These things do happen for a reason.
Yes.
We landed back in Indiana. I was living in Greenfield and I wanted to support my brother, when he planted HeavenEarth Church with God and then the Methodist Church and all their support. I wanted to support him, but I couldn't in Ohio.
Right.
And so I had friends, my best friends, Christy Stone and Michael Windsor, who still attend this church, and Mandy Wendell, at the time, Mandy Ron now, Mandy Markham anyway. Sorry, Mandy. Anyway, they were doing it and I saw my fruit. I had bared fruit into my friends that they wanted to help my brother do this and on the mission and help God. And that they started jumping in on this mission. And I was kind of jealous, like, wow, my friends are getting to be a part of this amazing thing that God is doing out in Whiteland. And I'm not. And it was from Greenfield about a 45-minute drive. So I didn't always make the drive out here to HeavenEarth when it was a very small, like, worship in the parking lot type deal.
Right.
And I ended up praying, like, God, make a way for me. Make a way for me. I've been an optician for 17 years. Make a way for me. I have some financial goals. I have, all these things that we're wanting to do. We were wanting to buy a house at the time.
Right.
So we just pulled the Band-Aid. We started looking for houses and we found a house in Greenwood, a little fixer-upper. And my husband and I moved out here. And because I was commuting here at that time regularly, actually.
Wow.
I had developed and came to that. And then we started just attending here regularly.
So just to be clear and to kind of give a little bit of context here, your brother, Ross Stackhouse, is the pastor of HeavenEarth Church.
Yes.
So you got connected, knew what he was up to regarding that sort of thing.
Yes, my beloved brother.
And then you literally came here, moved to Greenwood, in large part because of your brother and because of the church. Is that fair?
Yes. No, you're exactly right. Yeah. My goals were for my husband to be closer to his new job that he really loved, to be closer to my brother and his children so that I could help be a support and to help grow HeavenEarth Church and bring the kingdom of heaven to earth and do my part. And I got very passionate. And then my brother would have me sing sometimes on just, because like I said, it was in the parking lot right out here of these doors. And, I came once and I sang or did harmony maybe with him. And then I started singing maybe more frequently. And then I jumped in on the worship team, and I'm kind of a normal fixture on the worship team here.
So you got involved with HeavenEarth Church.
Yeah.
And you're on the music team, and you're one of the vocalists, and just a part of life around HeavenEarth Church in many ways. Yeah. Let me ask you this, though, JoAnna, what keeps you here? What keeps you here? Family is one thing. I get that. Your brother's one thing.
Right.
But what beyond that keeps you here as a part of HeavenEarth Church?
I love that question, and I love when I get that question because I have, like I said, I've traveled. I've been to many, many churches, different kinds, hole-in-the-wall churches, big, huge churches, all different kinds. And when I came here, I loved my brother's mission. And it wasn't just my bias towards my brother. It was just the Sunday conversations were real. They were just full of goodness, full of truth. Churches I had been to in the past, I didn't know what their true mission in the community was. Were they getting their hands dirty with things that weren't so pretty, like addiction or homelessness, or, what were they doing with their money? And they were probably doing great things with their money. I just never asked. It was never told to me. Whereas here I know exactly now, probably because I know how honest my brother is, and how responsible he is. But I know that any resource of my own time, money, effort, singing, whatever gifts I pour out into this church, I know that are going towards good. I know that for me, staying here, I just feel this sense of home. I also love that it's not a huge church, to be honest. If it was huge, we, obviously we'll face those things as they come. Right. I don't know what that would look like. I know that just the heart.
You found a place of heart, of home,
yes,
beyond family ties, which
yes,
is one thing. But
yes,
you've also developed relationships beyond this small core that you kind of initially started with.
Yeah.
You have through the music team and other things as well. It seems like to me you've developed some relationships that are important to you. Is that fair?
Yes. Growth, I think for me, and you know what? This is it. Growth.
You're fine.
I felt like I was growing here.
Growth, yes.
The Lord has given me all these gifts, has shown me his miracles, has shown me his wonders many times. For me, I'm like, I need to grow. I need to be the hands and feet of Jesus. Where can I do that best? Yeah. Where can I grow and just grow with others?
So growth means not only being where you're at, but it also means extension. It means helping others. It means spreading the seeds, as it were, to grow more.
Yeah.
So one of the things that's said here at HeavenEarth Church is that the mission of the church is to make a lasting impact in our community. So I guess my question to you, JoAnna, is that true? And how is that being done? How do you see that being done?
The answer is yes. Is it true? In my heart of hearts, yes. Is there always more that can be done in our community and more around? Yes. I love what my brother says. I should call him Ross. What Ross says is you can do some things about something, whereas my brain gets carried away of like, what are we going to do about this? What we got to do something, and he's like, you can do something about some things. And I know that our church is doing something about some things. Now, that being said, I have volunteered many times, not to puff myself up, but I have been able, my church creates opportunities for me to volunteer. Whereas when I came to this church, I remember being in the Vineyard Columbus going back to Ohio and just asking people, how do I get involved here? How do I volunteer? It was such a big engine. I felt overwhelmed by that. Like I don't know what I'm doing. And here it's just more feasible. They make it really accessible to sign up for something, to volunteer for something, to do it even scared. Like sometimes there's been times where I've volunteered to do a food delivery or a gift delivery or community outreach. Just I've literally went door to door, and that's a lost, besides our, our Jehovah's Witness, or I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bridge here, okay? But I'm just saying, like, I've actually done that because I wanted to get to know the community, and HeavenEarth and the pastor here, Ross Stackhouse, has empowered me to do that. I wanted to know the neighbors. I want them to know that, maybe church is nowhere on their radar, but like we're here, and we want to know you. Right. We want to help you. It's just, HeavenEarth Church makes a way for me to get involved in something or to share ideas I have. Maybe those ideas will not be received, to a listening ear, but hey, I'm welcome to give that idea.
So there's that aspect about making impact that has to do with the partnerships and other things that are going on here in the life of the church. Also, one of the other things that's said here quite often about life here at HeavenEarth Church is that it's something to the effect of if you feel like you don't fit in church, you could fit in here. And other things such as, we're a church for misfits and things like that. First of all, is that true? And how do you see that played out? How's that manifested?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, Brad. I have seen, different walks of life come in this door, but I have a friend that attends this church who's a friend now. She wasn't always a friend, who, asked me to do if I wanted to do a 12-step program. I was able to jump in there and I met so many different types of recovered addicts or addicts that were just trying to find their footing while they were in addiction. I was going to learn more about myself with, I suffer from polycystic ovarian syndrome, and not to overshare, but I have a bad relationship with food. So, my body, it's a hormonal imbalance for those of you that don't know. And so that was really hard to share with people because that's also not pretty. And so I was like, let's see what I can learn about myself. And then I say this story to say, I met so many people that I would have never really probably connected with of all different status, in all different places. And now we're the greatest of friends. And we can all share our story with others.
So you shared some of your vulnerability, and they shared theirs.
Yeah.
And there was not. I'm not hearing a lot of judgment, a lot of things that are uncomfortable. No. You were comfortable in doing that. Yeah,
just there's people that walk in here, chucked full of trauma, but some people, then there's like more of an elder stance, people that have already walked a lot of trauma and are on the other side of that, and they can help kind of wrangle people in and just spread love. And I think that this church is a church of love, a church of loving people where they're at. And to me, it's obvious. I've seen many people walk through the doors of this church, and I just don't feel as though there's any kind of judgment. I wanted to deeply be a part. I deeply wanted to be a part of something to where any person that is sinning as they walk in the door, or doing something to harm themselves as they walk through our doors, they can come, because we are all, I'm sinning every day. I'm doing things to sin all the time. That anybody in the throes of those things can just walk in, that we can just learn and grow together, that we can just follow and chase after Jesus together.
People from different walks of life can come together, and it's okay.
Yes.
So having said that, now, just give me just one. This is going to take me to my last question for you. But give me just a nugget about your family, husband, kids, anything like that. Any good thing or cool thing about them?
Yes. So, I am married to Shane Burnett, also known as Shaney Baby, Blueberry Love Muffin. He was my boy. This is a great story, Brad. I love my love story. So he was my boyfriend in 6th grade. And he was my rebound boyfriend, and we broke up. It didn't work out at that time. But I don't know if God was teasing us or what was going on, because he found me in 2010 on Facebook. So I can't say too many bad things about Facebook, because it brought my husband to me. So we fell madly in love in 2011, and we have been together since 2011, married since 2008. And we just have so much fun. We just do things for others, for each other, for ourselves. We just walk this life and just roll with the punches together. He's just a great partner. He's my best friend, but we're just crazy about each other. We wanted to have our own children. And that's another thing, a couple of years, I guess it's been 1.5 to 2 years now. We weren't blessed with children. We fought that battle. We fought that hard fight. We fought fertility for a while. And it wasn't something, I felt the Lord telling me, I know the desires of your heart, JoAnna. I would give you the desires of your heart. But I felt the Lord protecting me. And that I truly felt the Lord through all my prayer. I mean, trust me, I prayed and prayed and prayed. I had others praying for me. I wanted miracles for myself. And I felt the Lord saying, I would give you the desires of your heart, JoAnna, but there's a reason I'm not. And I don't know if it's just that it wouldn't have been a good journey for me to have a child or what that would have been. But I do feel nudged sometimes to go down the journey, to find, a way to adopt or something like that. But no, we love spending time. I just had my 2 nieces and my nephew all weekend. And so we love pouring ourselves out to other
Well, I
other
asked you
little
about
ones.
your marriage and your family life a little bit
Yeah.
there, and we got a little bit of your background there to give you kind of a context for the
Yeah.
question I want to kind of bring our conversation around to here, JoAnna, and that's this. If there's people in your life outside your church life now, connected to your marriage or your family or your workplace or social life or anything else along that line, that you know someone that you have a relationship with who has some issue in life, whatever it is, marital, financial, workplace, health, and they confide in you in some way. Do you think at HeavenEarth Church would be a place that you could invite them to become a part of? And if so, why?
Absolutely. If I could just get every person I know that's fighting a battle or struggling with something to understand where a relationship with God, the knowledge that Jesus can give them and what they can gain, and that our church could be the vessel, I would, oh my goodness, I would just shout it from the mountaintop. I would tell everyone. I would, because it's all about just taking that first step, right? Like people are afraid to walk into the doors of a church, I think sometimes. Just taking that first step to say, sometimes on the other side of fear or discomfort is goodness. So
and
come
sometimes
in.
part of the first step is invitation too.
It is.
Right.
You're right. And guess what? I'm not always good at invitation. Sometimes I'm scared to invite people. Sometimes I'm like, what are they going to think if I'm like, hey, I want you to come to HeavenEarth Church?
Yeah.
You know,
and part
but
of that
I
invitation
do.
process is a place that you feel that confident that they could be fine.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, what I want people to know is they can come here, grow, learn, make friends. If you want to sit by yourself and don't make friends and just kind of take some steps to learn something that you didn't know. And maybe they can't come to church. We have our online community who, people can just show up and, not be seen as much if that's what they prefer, or if it's just a distance.
Yeah.
I really recommend that people start there if they're afraid to come into church physically and in person, that they should start there and just...
Well, let's go there for a second, because this is a tool. This podcast and the video goes with it will be used as a tool to help other people.
Yeah.
So what would you say to that person who has a challenge in life? What would you say to them about what they would find here at HeavenEarth Church? What would you say to that invitation type thing to that person?
I think that they would find love and goodness and light. I think that they would find the fruits of the Spirit with Jesus. For those of you that don't know the fruits of the Spirit and goodness, don't test me, but it's love, patience, kindness, joy, discipline. Okay, I don't know them all, okay, but look up the fruits. Google the fruits of the Spirit, okay?
Yeah. But you're saying that people would find that here.
Yes, they would find that. And I think that would drive them. That would drive them to follow Jesus and be a disciple. Because it's not about, in my mind, love should be the driving force, not, oh my goodness, I'm going to hell I'm a sinner, that should be the driving force, that light that's just so bright, like in my car that day, that warm, blinding light of change just coming off of you.
So you want to hear people to experience the warmth and the light and the love, and I appreciate that.
Period.
Well, you've been awesome here today, JoAnna, and just appreciate you sharing with the folks who are a part of the HeavenEarth Church community and those who may be considering connecting up with the HeavenEarth Church community. Her name is JoAnna Burnett, and she happens to be the sister of Ross Stackhouse, the founding pastor of Heaven Earth Church, and she's been our guest today here on the Heaven and Earth Church podcast.
Yeah. Thank you, Brad. I really appreciate it.
And close.
Yeah.
And I'm
all right.
All right. Applaud for you. And it also gives me a sound cue here.
Yeah.
You did awesome. Way to go. Way to go. You did it.
Yeah.